Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be watching and whenever you might be watching this recording. I'm happy to be here again. My name is Sade Fadipe, and I have with me Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie, and she's an amazing children's book author, media creative person. She's got so many things going. How are you today, Tonye?
I'm fine. Still think it's weird to be considered a creative person, but I think at this point I have to accept it.
With all that you get up to, you're into, you're a children's author, but you've got so many other things going. You've got the music going, you've got the apps going, you've got the resources going. But we're here to talk about books. I tell you, someone asked me today, yeah.
So you met your match today.
Oh, actually, do you want us to compete? I've got loads of books with me. You know what? Someone said to me this afternoon, where did you get all those books from? I'll tell you later. I love children's books, and that's why I love what you do. I love what you do. So tell me, Tonye, there are going to be a lot of questions, and I know you've got little ones to attend to, but so we'll get there. We'll get there. Tell us about you. Tell us about you, your family, and then I'll ask a few more questions. So don't tell us everything all at once.
Well, this question is always the hardest one for me. When people tell me about like, oh, really? Like me?
You're setting there where you are at the moment, and that'll be fine.
Yeah, so right now, who I am, I always say my first thing is I'm a wife to my husband and a mother to my children. Then everything else comes after that. So we're just very blessed family. I'm blessed to have two children who have become my muses. I literally stalk them and like, oh, that's a good one.
They're projects, active projects.
They are just funny to watch. There's always a story. There's always something. But I would say like that is my major role as a wife, mother, but that in itself is what has spawned this journey, this suddenly being a creative rather than being someone who kind of manages creative projects and products and talents, which is what I did previously, actually being the one to create. Not just from a visual standpoint or taking something that already exists, but actually creating something that doesn't exist, which is so interesting.
So tell me about your prior life.
My rocking days.
Especially because we've got the stout thing in common.
It occasionally comes out my just my fun for life. So before I was married, before I had kids, I was a TV and film producer, commissioning editor, content producer. So that's my field, TV and film production. People would have seen a lot of the programs I was involved with, but I was never one that liked to be in front. You'd never see me at the red carpets of these events. My own is just to get the work done, and that's what I enjoyed doing, is helping others kind of get their idea or get their film done, get it done, actually have something that they had brought out of themselves and seeing it on TV or seeing it on the screen or whatever it was. So I had a really good career and quite successful. Didn't hit my peak because I got married and had children, but I don't regret it. There's some choices that you have to make. And my priority was like when I got married, when I had children, the first 2 years of each child's life would be spent at home. That was a sacrifice. Yes. But it meant that all those my rocking days, when I say rocking, I like to party. I like to go to beach, club, you know, I like to have,
Wow.
and but I think it was fine. I had done it for like almost 20 years. I think it was okay. It was enough. There's nothing I hadn't seen. So I was ready. I was ready to marry. I was ready to have children. So that's who I was before, but this is much better now, actually.
It's funny you say, you know, that you're a fun-loving person because I still see that come across. I mean, you haven't lost it. I still
No,
see that element, but probably
yeah,
in a different way. In a different
yeah.
way. You put all your energy into your children. So tell me, so that we're going to touch on a bit of parenting and then a bit, you know, and then we'll ease our way into the topic. So tell me, when you so when you'd met your spouse and you started talking about marriage,
Mhm.
we're going away from books now, started talking about marriage, um did you both have an idea of you know, what you might want your children to be, or you know, did you have any, you know, what did you have a conversation?
So the opposite of that. Like we're I don't know, we're really a weird couple in that our relationship, so we were best friends before we began dating. So we really had time to really get to know each other before we decided, okay, you know, let's date.
Hmm.
Um, and it was very organic. It wasn't like, you know, I'm not really a romantic person. He's not. The worst thing you could do is like, down on the kneel down
Hmm.
and oh, that would like, oh no.
Okay.
I'm like, no, 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 no. So we're not really those kind of people. It's very organic. It was very natural. And one day he just said he loved me out of the blue. And so I thought about it. I was like, okay, you know what? I love you too. And that's just how we best. And one day he was like, we might as well get married. I'm like, we might as well. You
How
know,
did how did I know this was going to be a funny story?
you know what's funny? It's actually how we met.
Hmm.
That's a
Go
funny
there,
story.
go there, go there.
So he had seen me in a club but didn't come and say anything. Then maybe about a month later, I was at Tantalizers on Admiralty. In those days, it was where all the estate agents, it was their office. So I
Okay.
was looking for a place. I wanted to move from the apartment where I was. And you know, sometimes the service in all these joints, right? So slow.
Hmm.
And instead of keeping that dialogue in my head, I didn't realize I had said it out loud of these people should move now, it's too slow, you know. And so he was in the line next to me and started laughing. And then we just started gisting. Nothing, he didn't make any move. I wasn't interested. You know, it was nothing like that. It was just friendly banter. But the tantalizers was so busy. So by the time I got my food, he had already sat down. There was no space. I didn't want to just go and sit with anybody. So I now said, no, is it okay if I join you? And so we just continued the banter, and that's how we exchanged numbers and just, you know, when you just instantly click into like best friend mood, like instant
Wow.
best friend. And we were like
Wow.
that for over a year before we started dating. And that's how we met.
Interesting.
These tantalizers in Lekki. So you're going to meet your husband. And I wasn't dressed up. I think I had bathed. I'll give myself that one, you know. But yeah, that's
In-
how we met.
Interesting. I mean, because this takes me easily into the next question. So once you became, you know, when you became a mother to one child and then had a second child and you got a diagnosis. I mean, at
Mhm.
what stage did you get this diagnosis?
So what happens usually with Down syndrome, most people get the diagnosis while they're still pregnant. But we're weird in that we did all our antenatal stuff,
Okay.
thing, did it properly,
Okay.
but we didn't, both times we didn't want to know the sex of our child, so we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to do the anomaly test, the invasive anomaly test, because
Yes.
our point of view is that whatever we get is what we will keep. So there's no need.
Yeah.
And if we get some news of diagnosis, I really didn't want to be worried during the pregnancy and pass that worry
Hmm.
to the child. because everything that happens in your pregnancy feeds into that child. And I want to feed love and positivity and fun. And I really think that's part of the reason why she's such a champion and just such a warrior and positive, is because, you know, that was what we kind of channeled during that pregnancy vomiting.
Interesting. I mean, I think I came about 1/4 through your experience. You know, we did go through a situation where we were told to do an anomaly test, and we also opted not to. But actually, what I see with you is that what I can sense, because of that strong bond and relationship that you had, that it was already grooming you and preparing you for what was to come. Because,
yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you know, have you never thought about it in that light?
You know, this is the thing. So she wasn't diagnosed till actually 4.5 months. And they missed it in America. They missed it in the UK. Wow. It was here in actually diagnosed. That's why I don't play with Nigerian doctors. Our doctors are on point. So wow. I support, they want to strike, I support them, because conditions that, you know, for example, I've had to take her to Luth. We had a bit of a medical scare. We were going back and forth for months to Luth. And I just commend the nurses and the doctors, because to still have a positive spirit and an outlook and want to do that job, despite the fact that you don't have materials, you don't have running water. So I don't play with our Nigerian people here.
No, I give that to them. I give that to them.
In terms of just thinking, you know, we never know what God plans for us. So I didn't see it coming, but you can kind of, when you look back, you say, God, you are walking all the way through that. Can you imagine? So when people say that, I'm always like, oh, yes, actually, that is so true. I just have learned to know that what happens in life is not necessarily your plan.
No.
You know, and you just have to try and make the best of every situation. I mean, right now, for example, we are going through, I don't know what's going on the past few weeks. It's like every curveball God can throw at us right now is what's happening, family-wise, both my in-laws. But we just said, you know, when my husband-in-law, one day I have to lift him up. If I know he has to lift me, lift us in the family.
Yes.
Because it's tough. But we just said, okay, let's just continue to pray to God, have a spirit of endurance, just keep going. Too far now. Let's keep going. God has a plan for it. You don't have to keep chanting. Sometimes you don't believe it. Just keep saying it as information.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And so that naturally led you into creating content.
Out of a direct need, and I'm sure, Sade, you've seen this. It's a direct need that we had, and there is this movement right now where moms and some dads, I'd love more dads to do it as well, go into this because it's a direct need they have for their children. My story is not unusual in that. In fact, it's to be the common thing when you're not seeing books that have minority characters, books that have African stories or well visually represent Black people not as animals, as real people. And so parents can step up and say, hey, you know, I can do this. My child has a need. I don't have to wait for anybody to do it.
Exactly. So we're becoming problem solvers over and over again. And you know, this is what I like about your brand. I call it a brand because it is a brand, you know, it is a brand. Ugo and Simpson, you know, that is a brand. You know, what you do with your apps is a brand. What you do with your music is a brand. And so it looks as if you've put a lot of thought into this. And also, as the years unfold, the content will evolve alongside it. because you're creating an ongoing learning experience and learning resources, not just for yourself, but for other parents. And
yeah, so it really just, it started with this is what it started with. And somehow, I don't know how, somehow God doesn't allow my brain to stop. He wants to finish all my money don't finish, and then somehow I'm so obsessed because we're sitting here and we're watching what is going on, not only in Nigeria, with the world, and it scares me. It really, our role as parents, right, as adults, as parents for the next generation, is to lay the road for them, lay the foundation. It's not to walk the road for them. We are to provide them with the tools. And there's a lack of emotional intelligence. There's a lack of an ability to take knocks and get up. About resilience. We want to teach the next generation about resilience because they're going to need it. So to do that, they have to understand who they are. And for me, the best way I can contribute to that, people do it in many forms, but for me, because I find children fun, they're visual, you can communicate so much through stories and activities that, for me, that's the best way to do it. And I just say at Simone's Oasis, what we're doing is empowering the African child through entertainment. And there's so many things that fit into that. Yes, we have the Ugo and Simpson brand in that, but we aggregate content also and produce our own content, but we aggregate from other like minds who are really striving and putting their money, their time, their sweat equity to create content for this generation, because we can see that things are not going how they should be. And so we have to be really intentional with it.
And I completely 100% agree with you. Not just for children that need that special additional support, but for all children. I'm not sure if I told you that I was at a program 2 weeks ago and we used your video, the song about Nigeria. We used it here in the UK, and the kids were fascinated by the way in which the shape of each state popped out. They were fascinated by that. And for them, I mean, we were talking about ethnicity and the fact that their parents may come from one state. It's funny, even the questions that propped up was questions like, so if my dad is Yoruba and my mom is Igbo, am I still a Nigerian? Those were the kind of questions that
we have to do. We have to engage them. We have to allow them the space to actually verbalize these things and talk about these things. Yes. And that's really where it starts. So I don't shut it down. What I'm trying to do is that we create to engage and discuss, and it gives them a certain thought process. They learn how to kind of think and process and raise their voice, have a voice. And it's so important. So, often, the old school way is that children should be seen, not heard. No,
not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. No. We have to engage them. So if, children are saying, oh, I want this kind of hair. My son said he wants a haircut like Ronaldo. I said, oh boy, now for hair. I'm not white. I think we're just a bit light, but we're still black. And our hair does not grow right. So having those discussions to understand that, hey, the way you are is wonderful. God created so many different varieties, and yours is as good as anyone else. And just having that understanding of the importance of knowing their roots, knowing their native language, all those things.
And I think I love what you said about heritage, because it's nice for children to see good role models, especially when we've got blood that when we've got mixed ancestors, mixed inheritance, mixed ethnicity, and they can tell that, oh, I'm not black enough or I'm not white enough. So how do I fit in? And this is why, this is why I keep saying that your brand is just so rich and it's just so relevant to all children. Even though, you started out creating content for, your daughter, but look at how it has spread and how relevant it is for all children. Tell us about your brand. Tell us about the brand. Go now, just talk to us, itemize the brand because I want to know.
So currently where we're at now is the overall umbrella is Simone's Oasis. And underneath it, we're plugging in our impact work. So that's the foundational work. We're just about to start doing a fundraiser for the impact work. Then we have like the Ugo and Sim Sim brands. Then we have all the other brands we've aggregated, Bino and Fino, Toon Clubs Kids, How to with Caillou Kids. So a bunch of content. And as well as that, we also focus on helping parents kind of understand the journey or approach the journey, whether they have a special needs child or not. Some things are focused on special needs, some things are not. Some parents use the special needs tools and videos for the neurotypical child because it works for all children, to be honest with you. So it's that's in terms of our content space. Now we obviously have our social media platforms. We're on at Simone's Oasis on Facebook, Twitter, yes, Twitter, and Instagram. And we have our YouTube channel. As you said, that video you talked about is now over 156,000 views. Someone else sent me a video today how they actually walked into the school and all she could hear was that song. So it gives me joy. Now, what we're currently working on now is the pilot of the animation series, Ugo and Sim Sim, the animated series. Okay. So it's, and I only found out, was it last month or the month before, that the book series is the first of its kind worldwide to feature a Black character with Down syndrome as the main character. And the the board book is the first ever created and produced board book from Nigeria. Like nobody has done it before, and which is so shocking to me. Which also means that the pilot that we're working on is the first ever to feature a main character in a series that's Black, that's Nigerian, that's African with Down syndrome. It wasn't on purpose. That just happens to be, which again highlights how important it is to tell stories.
Amazing.
Communicate. So how that's even coming about is a miracle in itself, because I have a spent 10 million naira on an episode. I mean, that's how much it costs, 6 to 10 million naira. That's a lot.
Wow.
So there's 32AD animation. The founder got in touch with me via LinkedIn, saw a post I did lamenting about, I need this dream to come true one day.
I saw that.
It's like, so we'd like to do your pilot as our CSR.
Amazing.
And it's like, as in you don't have to pay. I'm like, what? And so that's been really exciting because we've scripted, I've done the script, we've gone over the script, we have worked on the character models, the sets, and we've done the voiceovers. So we did the voiceovers with Uti, with Chigo, with Remy Olutime, who is like the first ever voiceover director for animation in Nigeria, and he has autism. He's on the spectrum.
Interesting.
And yes, our actor who plays Sim Sim is a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome. So we're breaking a lot of barriers. Things are really happening. Somehow, despite like my bank balance being zero,
things still happen.
So it's, creative is a hard journey, but I've known that for a long time. But a lot of what we do, what you do, what a lot of people in this space do is out of passion. And it really takes passion to drive this. You know, through this journey, I discovered I could write music. I never knew I could write music. I mean, I knew how to read music and stuff, but actually kind of construct songs, you know. So I have a great producer I work with, who we're always looking for beats, looking out for beats, and maybe I'll just hear something and we're like, okay, and I'll just kind of start singing a melody, or he'll
and the beats are amazing. Those beats.
Like so amazing to me that this is something I'm doing and having fun out of. But again, because the children, Simone is a very musical person. We are able to do a lot of stuff with her through music. Yeah, so it's kind of really exciting to see. I'm kind of looking forward to see where we'll be at in 2022. But we're here right now.
It sounds and comes across as an amazing project, or amazing projects, not just, you know, that's relevant to all children. And when you were speaking, I just had a flashback to about 2008. There's a lady in Lagos, and I don't know, I'm sure you might know her. Her name is Dr. Akindayomi. And she runs the CDC Center. It used to be in Surulere.
Okay.
It used to be in Surulere. And I think I have been there, and the multi-sensory space that she had then was amazing. But she was probably a lone voice in terms of, you know, dealing with special needs children. And she came into Abuja because I was based in Abuja, and we had a rally. We had a rally that had to do with allowing parents to give their children space. Don't hide your children, bring them out, you know, bring them out, give them the same opportunities, give them, you know, make them feel human, because we know, you know, I mean, unfortunately, you know, we've got our own views, you know, of and they're now thinking about that back then, and the space that you're in now, which is, you know, about how many years later? Oh gosh, this is about 14 years later. This is amazing to hear that, you know, there's content being created, and not just that, but that your work is the first to feature a Black child with Down syndrome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So, you know, guess what? You're going to carry on being busy unless you clone yourself. And hopefully, you know, you're also mentoring people and mentoring, you know, not just families, but also mentoring people that find themselves in that space, that can also disseminate the kind of information, probably through, you know, direct one-to-one, because it must be difficult. So I think that's leading me to my next question. It must be, you know, the challenges. So what are the challenges? And do the challenges come in phases? What are the challenges of having, and after that you're going to read, there's a rap here that I need to hear the raps.
I don't know about rapping, but I do it anyway.
You do it for me. So the challenges, and do they come in phases?
Yeah, so in terms of the children, definitely, especially with Simone, we have health challenges that come up every now and then, directly because of the Down syndrome. But they've been few and far between. We had two recent ones, but thank God everything is okay. You know, I think that majority of the time with the children, the challenges are like any other family. It's just we just have additional special needs challenges, but we take them as it comes.
Okay.
And, you know, it's okay. In terms of work, because now this is work.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes it feels like play, but it's work. Now, there are a lot of challenges. there are a lot of challenges when you're trying to produce content, make content. The financial aspect is tough.
Yeah.
Getting stuff funded, raising it. I do side jobs to put money into this, because if I was to wait for the government, or if I was to wait for corporate brands, I wouldn't be this far.
Makes sense.
Right now, that here is still very much, you know, a lot of the brands still very much, it's easier for them to put their money into something like Big Brother, you know, Slay Mama stuff that's easy. And you can understand it because they're corporate, right? They don't owe us anything. But that's a short-term game. For me, I know that we will get support from those who can see the long-term benefits of what we're doing. And it's just a switch of that mindset, because, you know, the challenges are not only financial, it's with the skill sets, you know, companies like Smiths, like Magic Carpets, like Zero Gravity Studios, they're really working in Nigeria to train future, you know, train animators, illustrators, storytellers. But the problem is now you train them and they get poached by the US, they get poached by Canada, they get poached by the UK. So just like in the medical field, we're having a lot of brain drain, right? A lot of our doctors are leaving. Wow. It's the same thing in the creative industry. So it makes it really tough. And then it obviously drives the price of a lot of things up. Then there's also the mindset that we have here, that colonial mentality, right? Everything Oyibo is better. Everything from here. The story is that that's not the case.
Sure.
That's in fact is a myth. It's a lie. We've been told it. You're still buying into the colonial mentality of what they taught us to destroy us. And so that's why I was very adamant about doing my books in Nigeria. They're 100% Nigerian creatives, Nigerian printer, Nigerian graphic designer, like everything, paper, everything was
amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
I just want to point that it could be done here. So it's also that mindset that needs to be changed, in that things in Nigeria are good. Our people are good. Our talent are good. We can nurture this industry. We can grow this industry, but we also need the gatekeepers to also support what's happening here.
It's interesting that you say the government owes you nothing. You know, there is something called universal basic education, and they do have a special needs budget, or should I say pocket, you know, yes. So it's always, well, how far it goes, we don't know, but, you know, we're good with policies. We're good with policies. And I think sometimes we need to take them up on those policies. And just remind them that you do have a responsibility. You do have a responsibility.
Yeah, it's kind of a really tough area to go into, because, for example, Lagos State is doing the best out of all the states in Nigeria in terms of special education needs, special education units and within schools, inclusiveness, but it's really so far from what is needed. And when you look at the fact they're even just struggling with basic education, then the other side is the private schools. Private schools, they're not really regulated, charging so much. How many people can afford it? I mean, it's getting ridiculous. Then some of these schools now know, because, you know, the in thing now is to have, you know, a special needs section or special needs ability in your school, which is great. But unfortunately, there are a lot of charlatans operating and the advantage of desperate parents. And it's trying to finding somewhere in between.
Yes. And that's where you come into play. And that's why what you're doing is so relevant and so amazing and so, you know, so needed within the society. And I think, I'm not sure what the statistics are in terms of, you know, in terms of the number of children, that end up having, either Down syndrome or,
Currently, this
what are the
is that
statistics?
20 to 25% of the population in Nigeria has special needs. Now, what degree of special need? But that's the statistic right now, which is alarming.
That's a quarter.
That's a quarter.
Did you say 20% or 25?
To 25%.
20. That's alarming.
Yeah. It might not be an extreme case,
yes.
which means what's happening here? What is going on? How are we supporting? I just come back with Nigeria has special needs in itself. So.
Well, I mean, if that ratio is at 1 per family, really, isn't it? 1 person per family. That's alarming. That is alarming. And the more reason why there needs to be, and I think the more reason why our education system needs to be aware of this, so that in educating our children, they're sensitive and aware that not every child learns in the same way. Not every child is on the same range within the spectrum. Some people might not show up as being autistic, but they might have Asperger's and, with Down syndrome as well, the spectrums. And if our teachers and educators are not being educated, then that means that a good chunk of us are not being educated.
In the way that you can understand. You have to tap into a child's vehicle for learning, right? What gets them, you have to find that inroad. With Simone, it was music. Once you can identify that, then it opens the door to education, learning, development, progress, and all those things. Now, there are a lot of teachers in school here who want to be able to get this training, who want to do this, get this understanding of how to support these children, to even be able to identify, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of
the
times,
assessments.
See it, or parents will get something about it from outside the house, will be from school. It will be a teacher saying through the school channels that, look, I've noticed this. What if a teacher isn't trained to identify dyslexia or Asperger's or ADD, or, understand some of the behavioral aspects? Then they'll just think that it's a problem child, right? That one is just a problem child.
Doesn't want to learn. Olodo.
See, that is not the case. I mean, we did a training right before COVID last year, an awareness raise that worked really well for 100 teachers in Ikorodu.
Okay.
And over 2 days. Okay. And we just allowed them to be free, talk about their challenges before we then started workshopping. And we had different coaches come in who are in this field, whether it's play therapists, behavioral cognitive specialists. We had them come in and just give them some strategies and tools of which to be able to observe.
Yes.
So that when that thing happens, you now start to think, wait, what did they tell me? Okay. I need to bring this up to my supervisor in the school. So it goes through the channels and understand how to go over those channels that they have in school.
So yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
But it's what's been really interesting is just to see how things have developed over the past 2 years. People are involved. People meeting like minds like yourself. Obviously, we started at Akane, and that's been really interesting, getting to know other authors, their journey, illustrators, compare notes, compare stories.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, and the ability to understand how things function and work, or how other people are doing it, so you can learn and share, because together we can really make more impacts. And if you're on your own or I'm on my own, we all need to really be in this
exactly,
and to push, which is why when I move, I'm always thinking about, okay, how does this impact? How do we draw other people, push other people's work through our own platforms as well? Because it just creates more awareness. And I've not written enough books to fill one person's library, so we need everybody's everybody's books and writing styles.
Amazing.
And stories, and it means there's just something more robust for our children to adopt into their life and grow up with, so that they have that sense of who they are and where they're coming from, which is really important.
Do go ahead and show us everything you've got next to you. Bring out the pile. Bring out the pile.
3 different bookshelves, so you don't have to be carrying up and down. So in the children's bedroom, the books they like for we do bedtime, storytime reading. Then the playroom here, which is where we set up Simone's kind of homeschool area. The bookshelf with all different kind of books. And Ugo's bookshelves is here, so his are a bit more advanced than Simone's. So he has some of our
let me put you on the spotlight
and stuff, but he also likes books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, so he has those. He has National Geographic books and things like that, so that way they can access on every floor. And they like to read my books too, which is really awesome. They actually like to read my books. My children actually like the books. So what I have here with me, you've seen, I've already shown you this one today, and then the one that started everything, and then this one, I can do it myself. And this story is really kind of quite relevant to parents and children who are becoming more independent. You know, they hit that end of their toddler phase, you know, usually around 5, and they're kind of, they don't want help. They want to do everything themselves, right? And it's really annoying because mom or dad is trying to help them and they don't want your help. But we know as parents too, while they want to be independent, they don't have fully the skills that they need. So it's that balance of where do you step in as a parent, but also that independence that you want to foster, that a child naturally wants, and just that balance. So it's quite a funny, sweet story. And then this one, which is the first time we introduce characters outside of the nuclear family, which is dad, mom, Ugo, and Sim. We introduce grandpa and grandma, which are based on my parents. So most of the characters are actually based on real life people, both personality-wise and physically. Physically, the mom is not based on me. It's actually based on Zainab Balogun, who's a good friend. I didn't want to base on me because I didn't want to get into the whole colorism topic. So that I didn't want to distract from our message by, you know, the colorism topic, and I didn't want to push the message that light-skinned is good or bad. We just exist. That, you know, I want to stay away from that concept that lighter is righter or whiter is righter, and that's a whole nother topic. But this is really interesting story because it harks back to our own childhood. So I'm actually picking a story, weaving a story from my childhood, but also my children's childhood, right? So that whole thing about today, you know, all of us are like this, right? Or gaming, and that's how it is. But in those days, it wasn't so. There wasn't internet. When we were at home and they take like dad in the office, no gen was coming on. There was gen, but he told them, no gen coming on. So what do you do now if you're on holidays? You have to find something to do. So that brings out that whole aspect of imagination, of apart from, you know, going outside to play, also entertaining oneself. creating stories, silly things. It's not about talent. It's just about engaging your imagination. And so we used to do a lot of that with my sisters and cousins, because really you're stuck at home all day. Are you just going to stare at each other? And I think that's what's being lost on the current generation. And it's something I definitely am very intentional about with my children. We have times, there's only so much time they play PS5 or on the tablet or on phone. Certain, during the term, not at all during the week, only on the weekend after homework is done, and it's a limited period of time. So I wanted to hark back to that. And in the story, it's really funny because, it's that whole essence that we know as Nigerians. You can identify, okay, the fact that you know what a generator is, the fact that, the generator breaks down. Everybody can identify with that. So I loved like putting in those elements, even in the illustrations. Like people, adults have commented on the illustrations and have said they can pick up the windows on the outside in the on the patio. The dining table, the settee and the doily thing. That we were so intentional about some of those aspects, because we understand a lot of parents will be reading this for their children. So it's a way to also connect to the parents through familiar, stories, through a familiar environment. It brings it home, especially if they're living in the diaspora now. There's those elements that you will pick up that if you're not from this region, you won't know. Which is why also I put the glossary in some of my first book when there's a glossary, because I have to understand that there's people who are reading this, like we have people who get the books, they're from Mexico, from Japan, and they are not from our culture. So there's some things that you have to explain. So it can be quite interesting.
I'm glad that you sent this particular book to me, because there's just so much to love about it. So much to love about it. It's so relevant to the children's experiences, and I could, having grown up in Nigeria, and my children also having experienced Nigeria for a bit, I'm sure they'll be so. I think this is going to make them laugh when they see it. So who is going to do the rap for us?
Oh, unfortunately, it's going to be me, unfortunately. So I apologize in advance.
And which one of the raps are you going to do? Which one of the raps?
Ooh.
Which is your favorite? Which rap is your favorite?
Let's do Ugo. Although people tend to like the grandma and grandpa, because they just think it just blows the children's mind that grandma and grandpa are doing it. But my parents always said, we'll have a go. They're kind of fun parents. So, so let's do, yeah. I can do both. I'll do grandma and grandpa. So, are we starting from the beginning of the story? Just the rap. Okay, let's do it. Ready? Hey, I'm grandma. I'm number one. Teaching kids how to rap is lots of fun. Think up some words, put them in a rhyme. Ugo and Simpson, it's a real fun time. Yeah. And then you got to imagine that grandpa has a big belly. He's a chunky grandpa. He's not anymore, but in the animation he is. So he goes, growl, growl, growl. Oh, my belly. Is anyone else here feeling hungry? Time for lunch. Some eba and egusi. Grandma Ugo Simpson, who is chopping with me? There's any excuse to make a fool of myself, please, I'll take it. But to be honest, that's what I love about engaging with children directly. You're allowed to be silly. You're allowed to be free. You're allowed to be goofy. And I love that about kids. I love that aspect because you can discover so much about yourself with giving yourself that space, right? So I always love to be extra goofy with kids. I love to see that. I love to nurture that because there's a certain amount of discovery that can happen and also security that can happen in that. And I just feel that that's part of the joy, that we need to understand that reading isn't a chore. It's not a task. It's something that allows you to process, to discover, to imagine, as well as learn and develop obviously usable skills. But there's just something about storytelling, about reading, and allowing your child's mind to process and go through it that is freeing, you know?
I'm going to say something now. Remember when I asked you about your prior life and you said you had a lot of fun? I think we've done a full circle with this interview. We've done a full circle with this interview because you brought all of that back into what you now do. And not on think, yes, then you were doing it for the sake of it. You weren't making money from it, were you? Now you're making money from living a fun life.
Yeah. Well, it's, just what almost losing a child twice will teach you is that, number one, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. Number two is that, because of that, there is no real plan. Yes, you make a plan. Obviously you plan for tomorrow, but there really is no plan. We're just winging it. So instead, why not kind of have fun? That's how I say, why not have some fun? And it doesn't mean life isn't hard. We have challenges. And as I said, we're really in a period of challenge. We have, this past 2 weeks, we have cried, we have laughed, we have lost our minds. Wow. But we still look at the children and we smile. We still look at each other and there's love. So we really have to remember that there has to be some kind of joy, whatever your circumstances are. Because tomorrow we may not be here. And that's part of what motivates me to do what I do, is that, God forbid, I went tomorrow. What would I have left? What impact would I have left? And for me, it's about leading an impactful life. Before, I was not leading an impactful life, at least in my opinion, although some people have said I impacted them in my approach to work, in giving them opportunities. I gave them opportunities, but me, I was just being me. I didn't know that. Okay, great. That's really amazing. And to see them excel. But for me, this is so rewarding, so rewarding. So it's that I know that if I did, I've at least touched and made an impact in children's lives and adults' lives. And that's my goal, impactful. Leave something behind when I'm not here.
Tonye, Faloughi-Ekezie, you have been amazing.
Thank you, Sade.
You have your words, your words just summarize everything to do with life. Everything to do with life. You said so much. And I'm sure that when people listen to this recording, they would have so much to take away from it. You are so inspirational.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best in everything that you set to do. And especially your plans for year 2022, which is just around the corner. It's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. So well done, and thank you ever so much for coming on Author Aspirations. And guess what's going to happen this evening? We shall meet again.
We shall. It's going to be a different location.
Different
So
location.
different internet. I'm praying it works. But I'm super excited about this evening. I really just want to say thank you for all you're doing, Sade. We see you, we respect you, we love, we support you. And I just feel really privileged that I was able to come here and just with you small.
Thank you ever so much. And we should see you in a few hours. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye. Love to the kids.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.